Okay, this concerns the beginning of the United States space program, as well as the involvement in the space program from President John F. Kennedy. So, in your textbook, it mentions Sputnik, which is the first satellite that was put into space. And this satellite was put into space by the Soviet Union. And by this time, the Russians had the nuclear missile also, nuclear bombs also. And so there was this great fear in the United States of that. Both countries were nuclear armed. But now that the Russians or the Soviets had gotten into space first, it created almost hysteria. Remember, this is a time there was the Red Scare in the United States, where some people lost some rights due to uh, the lack of free speech because of the fear of communism. Um, so this was with that kind of an era, but now that the Russians put the first satellite into space, now Americans felt that the Russians were more advanced technologically. So Kennedy, president at the time, a very strong president and a very popular president, reacted to Sputnik, and he wrote um, that um, he talks about not falling behind in this race for space. Okay, so Kennedy was motivated in this space race, but he is also very personally supportive of exploration in space. So it served a dual purpose for him: protection of national security, but also he felt that it was time for space to be explored, and this was the perfect opportunity. He really created the idea of going to the moon. He said we choose to go to the moon in this decade, not and other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Here, much less known today, but at the time, he made some very large speeches supporting a very large expansion of the space program. And this is a speech he's making supporting the space program. And he mentions exploring, but he also mentions national security. And some, even in his own party, disagreed with him on space exploration. But he was very strong and very popular, and he got this great expansion in technology in space um, uh, exploration and research. First, there's the X-15 program, which is U.S. Air Force program, testing very fast aircraft, moving towards technology in which outer space could be explored. So you have the first astronaut in space launched by the United States. His name is Alan Shepard. He was the astronaut. So the name of the ship was the Freedom 7. It was in space. It did not orbit the planet. It was a short 15-minute flight, but it was the first American astronaut in space. Here is a helicopter latching onto the space capsule after re-entry and landing. So here's a newspaper article documenting the first American in space on this 15-minute flight. The second American in space was Gus Grissom in Liberty Bell 7. And then the next major mission was Friendship 7 with astronaut John Glenn. And this orbited the Earth. So that was another big advancement. And then finally, we see here the John F. Kennedy Space Center, because John F. Kennedy was a very important president in the advancements of space exploration, um, national security, and also a tremendous advancement in technology, which has really affected life in all ways, which we'll get more into later when we cover more on science.